Mr. Mercado's here. Mr. Dawson. Mrs. Downs.
Here.
Mr. Gutierrez. Mr. Kurtz. Mr. Natale.
Here.
Mr. Strollo. I'll go back. Mr. Gutierrez is here. Mr. Selmont.
Here.
Mr. Alfie.
Here.
Ms. Blake.
Here.
Mr. Hilsinger.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, a couple housekeeping items before we start the public hearing tonight. So if anybody's here for the schools are going to be, it's postponed until the 22nd, Michael? Okay, so sorry if you came out for the schools, but it's being postponed. Goodbye, Mr. Grippo. Good seeing you. Okay.
Could we have Mike, could we have a clarification on that?
Yeah.
Who requested a postponement?
Well, it's postponed because the applicant failed to notify the abutters. So the abutters have to be renoticed. The application has to be renoticed in the paper, and the abutters need to be notified. That is why the public hearing is postponed. for
So it
this
has
evening.
nothing to do with the Planning and Zoning Commission?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to, chairman's prerogative. I'm going to shuffle the agenda a little bit tonight. I'm going to do the new business first. We're going to have that public hearing. We are going to recess, go to the regular meeting to take a vote, and then we're going to come back to the public hearing. So, Rob, can I get a call for new business number one? I apologize. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Which call?
We're going to do the
Application for a special permit on behalf of Jacqueline Guerra, applicant. Applicant is requesting a special permit pursuant to Section 30 of zoning regulations for a Medi Spa located at 125 Commerce Court, Assessors Map 19, Lot 72, Zone I-1.
Hi, your
Hi.
name and address for the record?
Jacqueline Guerra. I reside at 40 Westridge Court in Cheshire. I'm the owner of Rouge Medical Aesthetics, which is a Medi Spa presently in Cheshire. I'm looking to purchase the lot that's at 125 Commerce and have my medical aesthetics business there. Overall, I focus on prioritizing safety, and we offer a variety of non-surgical skin rejuvenation services, so Botox, fillers, facials, things like that. You're welcome.
Do you do nails or anything that creates any kind of fumes? Because I know I think right next door, there's a bar that has food and stuff.
No nails. It's
So there's nothing that
it's a
creates
Medi
any
Spa, so
fumes.
it's mostly medical aesthetics. So Botox, fillers, facials, things that are of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a quick question, and it might be sent on page 6 of 10. It says, are there any required Westbrook Health District? I didn't see, was there one included in there?
License.
So presently, I have one from where I'm located. Once we move into the facility, then Cheshire comes and deems that like we're okay to move forward with business just like before. So it's not
Okay.
something that's done usually previous. It's like I go into the facility, it's zoned for that area, and then I have to prove that like I have Sharps containers where they belong, being things like that, and then they say you're okay, open for business, and it works that way.
Okay.
They don't
thanks.
usually do it pre-hand.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Gooden, administratively, do we need to make that part of the motion or just automatic?
That's going to go through the permit process once she gets, after tonight.
Any staff comments?
This is a use that's specially permitted in the zoning district. The site has sufficient parking for the use. There's no physical expansion of the building. The only reason why this is before you is because the site does not have a history of the similar approval. Otherwise, if this special permit for this use was previously issued by the commission, the applicant wouldn't be here tonight.
Gotcha, just taking an existing business and moving it elsewhere.
Correct.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, anything else to add?
I don't think so.
Anything from the public? Okay, we're going to close this public hearing. I'd like to get a motion to recess the public hearing to move on to the regular meeting. So, Mr. Cardera, second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. I would like to open the regular meeting for the Planning and Zoning Commission for Monday, January 8th, 2023. For this one item, when we come back, we will do the minutes and everything and go along with the rest of the agenda. Is everybody comfortable voting on this?
Yes.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve application for special permit on behalf of Jacqueline Guerra. Applicants requesting special permit for a Medi Spa at the property located at 125 Carmus Court. Assessors map 19, lot 72, zone I1. The commission finds, based on documents provided in presentation of the public hearing, that the applicant has demonstrated compliance with the Cheshire zoning regulations.
Any discussion?
Oh, you didn't? I thought you said second.
Oh, second, I thought you said discussion.
Oh,
No.
no.
Gotcha. Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries 9-0. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'd like to get a motion to recess the regular meeting and move back to the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Carderas, Mr. Selman, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, ayes have it. Okay, so Mr. Affey, you need to go down. Mr. Hilsinger, you wanted to speak first?
I'll be recusing myself.
Okay. Thank you.
Why is Mr. Affey stepping down?
Mr. Affey wasn't here in office for the first public meetings or public hearings on this, so he cannot
Okay.
sit.
Thank you. We do.
We do. Yep. The applicant?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Is that good with a microphone? Okay, perfect. Happy New Year. Nice to see you all again. For the record, my name is Andrea Gomes. I'm an attorney at Hinckley Allen here tonight on behalf of the applicant. With me tonight are Ben Tripp and Jeff Sager of Metro Realty, Tom Daly, our consulting engineer from SLR, and Mark Vertucci, our consulting traffic engineer from Fuss & O'Neill. The commission will, I'm sure, be happy to hear that we're doing our best tonight to make this presentation concise. So I will dive right in with a few updates and revisions to the application that have occurred since the commission's meeting in December. First and foremost, we submitted the final flow test for the correct hydrant to Mr. Glidden, which showed more than enough water pressure for water service to the site. We also submitted a final revised assisted housing district regulation. Commissioner Bowman, you had requested that we tighten up, so to speak, the zoning table to more accurately reflect the dimensions of the site. And we did that, submitted it to Mr. Glidden, and he okayed the language. And that's indicated in your packets. The changed text is in red to make it clear what we did amend.
Thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. We received a comment, and again, these are in no particular order, but we received a comment from Commissioner Downs earlier today requesting that we remove the Shade Master honey locust from the planting plan in favor of another species. We did not have time to revise the plan for this evening, but we'll note for the record that we'd be happy to accept as a condition of approval, swapping that out for the eastern redbud, which is a native species and should work just as well on that plan.
On that note, everything else looked great, so I just
Great.
have to compliment you on that. But that one is invasive, but everything else looks great. Thank you.
I wish I could take credit for that, so I'll give the credit to our landscape architect, but thank you very much. Regarding sidewalks, the commission, I'm sure, will recall at the last meeting that there had been a lot of discussion about sidewalks. The applicant had already agreed to construct sidewalks extending from the site entryway north to Johnson Avenue. The commission asked as well that we explore whether we could construct sidewalks going south to Dunkin' Donuts, for lack of a better phrase. So to Dunkin' Donuts, and I'm sure the commission will be happy to hear that we are willing to construct both of those portions of sidewalk. So we will be constructing, again, to reiterate, north from the site to Johnson Ave, south from the site to Dunkin' Donuts, including the provision of a crosswalk there so that people can safely cross the road. I certainly hope that the commission sees what we believe is a significant public improvement as direct evidence, if the commission hasn't seen it already, of Metro's commitment to partnering with the town and to making this community as safe as possible. So we are happy to accept that, of course, as a condition of approval. We did receive a draft motion today from Mr. Glidden, and thank you to Mr. Glidden for sending that off to us just for our initial review. We proposed a few revisions, really just tweaking a couple of typos and things like that, but I wanted to highlight two of the substantive revisions just to give a little color to the commission. And Mike, can you go to the second slide if you wouldn't mind? Thank you. So the commission may. Does that work? Perfect. You got it. Okay. The commission may recall that we originally had proposed 72 units, but then there was discussion, I believe, at the first public hearing before I stepped in to make that 71 units with a common area space. So that was one of the revisions that we had added into the motion. And this is just the floor plan showing what that common area space looks like. In the bottom right-hand corner, essentially, it's not magic. We took one of what would have been the units and turned it into a common area, and that will be in the larger building at the back of the site for use and enjoyment by the residents. And then the second revision to the motion that I just wanted to explain to the commission was regarding the affordability of the community. Originally, Mr. Glidden had written in there that we would do 80% affordable, 20% market. With 71 units, the math doesn't work out exactly. So we just clarify that it would be approximately 80-20. And the reason is 20% market rate is 14.2 units. Obviously, we can't do 14.2 units. So we just clarified that in there, that there will be 15 units at market rate, which is about 20%, and 56 as deed restricted affordable. So those were just two minor clarifications we made for the motion, which I believe is reflected in your packets right now. I am going to hand things over to Mr. Daly in just a moment to discuss some of the revisions that we made to the site plan, which take into account the comments from the commission regarding entry and exiting from the site, and also take into account comments from the fire marshal and fire chief. Members of our team did meet with the fire marshal last week and ran through an iteration of the plan, as I believe Commissioner Strollo had suggested, where we would make the emergency only drive the exit only drive for the entire community. Ultimately, we kept the emergency access road as the emergency access road with some improvements, but we revised the original exit drive to better orient drivers to turn right only out of the site. But again, Mr. Daly will go through that. The fire marshal did issue 2 written comments after that meeting, after having seen the revised plan, which we have accepted and are happy to accept as conditions of approval. They had to do with widening the right turn only lane to 15 feet and installing a powered gate at the end of the emergency access way, which again, we're happy to accept as conditions of approval. And then just for the record, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, to be clear, we don't believe that the iteration of the plan that was before the commission at the December meeting was unsafe in any way, but we did put pen to paper. We heard the commission's concerns, and we did what we could to try and address the commission's concerns with access and exit out of the site. And the final plan is kind of a compromise, if you will, with everyone's input put into it. But you'll hear from Mr. Daly shortly. Lastly, before I do actually hand it over to Tom, I did want to discuss timing with the commission. And I'll just get to the point. The request for the commission is that the commission ultimately close the public hearing and vote tonight. And that's for 2 primary reasons. And I believe I'd indicated this to Mr. Glidden when we last spoke before the holidays. First and foremost, we believe that we have answered or addressed all outstanding comments, questions, requests from the commission, members of the public, town staff, and the plan that the commission has before it is the result of all that hard work and everyone's valuable input. So we believe that the record and the application in and of itself is in a position to properly close the public hearing and vote. However, the second reason that we're asking for a close and a vote tonight is, as the commission knows, Metro plans to obtain state funding to construct this community. The deadline to apply for that funding is coming up very, very quickly. And if we miss the funding application deadline this year, we'll have to wait a whole nother year to apply again, which will, of course, unnecessarily delay the construction of this very much needed housing here in town. So that's a big portion of it. And the commission should also understand that DDS, the Department of Development Services, their commitment to provide financial assistance for the supportive housing unit component of the community is limited to this year. Now, that's not to say that if we had to apply next year, we wouldn't get the funding again. But of course, there's absolutely no guarantee. So something to keep in mind as well. And for those reasons, again, we're deferring to the commission, but respectfully requesting that we close and receive a vote tonight if possible. With that, I will hand it over to Tom. He's just going to run through the site plan revisions quickly. Mr. Vertucci is going to step up for probably a moment or two to address it from a traffic perspective, and then I will close. Unless there are any questions.
Yeah, I have a couple questions.
Sure.
So from the first hearing, which you didn't attend,
Correct.
but I'm sure that you're up to speed on that.
I did.
We were actually asking for the applicant to max out the number of assisted or affordable units. So you're 14.2% market. Why don't you go down to 14 for the market rate and increase the affordable by 1 since you're taking 1 away to go for the common area?
Mr. Tripp is going to weigh in on that.
For the record, Ben Tripp, Metro Realty. So one of the elements of the conditions of approval is that we increase the supportive units to 18, which is the maximum. And so we are committing to do that. The reason we have to be at 15 instead of 14 market rate is because in order to fit into this financing program, you need to have at least 20% of your units market rate to be considered mixed income. If we're at 14, I believe the number is it's like 19.7. We're just under that 20%. So we need to actually be equal to or in excess of 20% in order to qualify. And with 71 apartments, 15 is it's the fewest number of market rate units that we can do.
Okay. I have a question which I didn't pick up on in the last 2 meetings. I apologize. For the lighting, and this may be more for staff, but in the last sentence for the lighting, it says light sources shall be shielded from dwelling unit interiors, public highways, and abutting properties so that light falling outside of the development shall be of low intensity. Most of the developments that we've approved, the buildings that we've approved, there hasn't been that bleed over, regardless of whether it's high intensity or low intensity. And I'm sorry, that's in 44C.4.6 lighting for the proposed application.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
So again, in previous applications, we've insisted that there was
No
no
light
bleed.
No, I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt. So no light trespass behind the property line.
Yes.
I will take a look at our photometric plan, and I can, when Mr. Daly is talking, I can take a look at the photometric plan. I'm not sure that we have any trespass, but we can certainly tighten up that regulation and impose that as a condition of approval.
Right, and then this gives the property. Yeah.
We're going to agree to no light trespass, to be clear. It's just tightening up the language.
Okay. As far as the sidewalk goes, have the abutting property owners been informed that they may now be responsible for clearing sidewalks, taking care of sidewalks, the maintenance of those?
I will look to Mr. Tripp. I don't believe we've contacted any of the abutting property owners. We have not. But again, this is a significant public improvement, improves pedestrian access along Highland Avenue.
Okay.
And something, of course, that the commission requested.
Oh, no,
which
no,
is why we're
I'm not against
providing.
sidewalks, trust me. I think the sidewalks are a great thing,
Okay.
but it's also putting a burden on a property owner or multiple property owners that currently don't have to hire somebody to come take care of it or clear the snow, or if there's a strip of grass, mow that strip of grass because there's nothing there right now. So that's why I'm asking, has any consideration been given to those neighbors?
We're always considering our neighbors, and we believe that this is a significant improvement. Again, and I mean this with all due respect, that the commission requested. So we're putting it in as a benefit to the community, and we believe that the abutting property owners will be thankful, of course, to have that.
And Mr. Gloom, what's the process for that as far as going across? And I know there's a right of way, but can you explain the process there?
If it's in the right of way, really it's go through a DOT permitting process. If it's on private property, they'd have to get permission from the individual that owns the property.
Gotcha. But I believe up there's, oh God, I forget what the right of way is, but it's pretty substantial.
There should be room.
Okay, thank you.
No. Nope, that was answered.
Yeah, does that have to get approved through DOT to put sidewalks on the state highway?
Yes, and that will be part of the encroachment permit process. I'm looking at Mr. Vertucci, who is nodding his head, but yes.
But they could say no.
They could, and in that instance, the commission is fully protected because if we don't get our encroachment permit, we can't get our building permit, and we'd have to come back to the commission anyway. So it's a win-win, if you will, for the town.
Okay, thanks.
Same question. Okay.
Thank you. I'll ask Mr. Daly to step up. Thank you.
Good evening. For the record, Tom Daly with SLR Consulting. And before I start on the traffic, on the lighting, yes, it is the design intent to have zero trespass. That's the design intent. That's standard. So tightening up that regulation is not an issue as to the site plans. Frankly, we don't have a lot of lights. They're pulled away from the property line, so it's fairly easy. But I'm here before you this evening to kind of walk back a little bit and then walk forward in terms of the site access. So our first hearing that we presented to you, we had a full access driveway coming out onto Route 10. And then at the far north of the property, we had a grass paver, 15-foot emergency only driveway. That was the emergency access driveway was a recommendation when our initial staff comment. So we came before you with that application, and that's part of the original application. At that time, the commission determined to go get a peer review on the traffic. As part of that peer review, traffic engineering, they made no comments. They said the site driveway was adequate and appropriate, but they did make a recommendation to have a right turn only as an exit. So we revised the plan to have a small island in that area, commonly referred to sometimes as a pork chop, to direct people to the right. We, with this commission, had some back and forth in terms of mountable curb, what's not mountable, what would the fire department talk about? And I know this commission has a long history of that along Route 10 and, maybe promises made and then driving by and it's not there. So, but we took your comments seriously. We went back to the drawing board, immediately put pen to paper, and we came up with a concept of that the main entrance drive as we presented to you would be in only. And then the emergency access would actually become an exit only. And we put a very long sweep on it to the point where it was not a simple little come to the end, oh, I'm going to jump over the curb and go over a pork chop. And then we really tried to force it almost like an off ramp into there. And I think even when we were talking to the commission, I clearly heard the tone or the feeling that you got to run this by the fire department because they're really important. So we put that plan together. We worked together with Fuss and O'Neill, made sure it met the traffic. It did achieve certain things, right? It pushed that exit drive down far away from it. But myself and Ben Tripp did make a visit, and we went to go see the fire chief and the fire marshal, presented the plan to them, and frankly, they had already seen it from Mike Glidden, and they were not happy with it. They did not like it for a couple reasons. One, by taking the exit drive and turning it into an exit only, that took away their emergency access. Because right now, before we could, on the existing plan, they can come in and out the main drive, and that was a secondary, just an add-on. And then they also didn't like the fact that when their fire truck left, they would have to go right. And what if they had a call that they need to go south immediately? So we had some back and forth with them. And we did talk about mountable curb. We told them that the commission had some comments and concerns about too much mountable curb is somewhat of a green light to be taking, a legal turn. So we went back and forth, and we came up with basically what we believe to be a good compromise. And a couple things happened. So we took that same approach, that off-ramp approach, really pushing the traffic. And you can see from this plan, we made a very large island in the entrance. So the entrance is the same way you saw it before, but by pulling that driveway, we really create a hard sweeping movement. So you're not only that, you're not coming down the driveway and straight and then turning at the last minute. You're really being pushed to there. And also we also met with the fire and they recommended, so we actually have changed the grass paver 15-foot to a 20-foot paved. And that gives them a lot more access. And I believe because we gave them that, they would be more agreeable and they were okay with non-mountable curb on the exit lane. So we're going to do mountable curb on the end as they come in, but on the exit lane, it's going to be a non-mountable. It'll be a 6-foot high standard curb. So we don't have to worry about that part. And then part of that compromise was we're now giving them a much better exit lane with 20 feet paved. And then the last comment that came in, we were showing 2 bars and a chain. They came back and said we would recommend a motor actuated or a special type of gate, which we'll work with them on the final detail. But ultimately, it's kind of a combination of comments that came from us, from your peer review, and then comments from from this commission, and then comments with the fire department, to the point where I think we've put together a plan that kind of meets all those standards. We've run all of this plan by worked with Fuss O'Neill. It meets all safety requirements, but just by getting, opening up that large island and making the large sweep, we are pulling the exit farther away from that high point that's down below. And it really does create a more visual hard turn. It's going to be a real hard, you really know you should be going north at that point, as opposed to just coming to the end of an island and seeing a little jut out. So we hope that this commission sees that as a positive. And ultimately, we did present it to the fire department, and the comment letters you came back. I think the first comment they had was already in their comment letter. Basically, we want a dry run of this site before you do too much hard pavement. And then 2, they asked for we did want to make, once we went to 20-foot paved, we wanted it gated, because grass pavers, people know not to go. But once it started to get 20, we didn't want people slipping out. So we had a chain. The fire department asked for something more robust. We have no objection to that. We clearly, and Metro is conceded or agreed to, that we'll come up with whatever gate detail and knock box that the fire department needs. Thank you. Mark?
Do we have a question?
Should have offered that first.
I will be voting for this eventually. I think the plan, that the answers to the comments that we had made initially met with our planning and zoning regulations. With the further exit, I have a concern. I voiced my concern with the safety of coming in and going out, and I would have preferred to have that right turn lane. I'm not going to vote no on this project because of that. But I am 100% for the fire department. But when something meets our regulations and they make comments and then don't want to appear before us so that we can question their thought process, that bothers me. And again, I will be working, and I just want it for the record that if anybody is ever hurt in this area, that it's all on the fire department. It's not on us. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Mark Vertucci, Senior Transportation Engineer at Fuss & O'Neill in Manchester, also a registered professional engineer in Connecticut. I don't have too much to add. I think Tom and Andrea really covered all the points, all the improvements we've made pretty well. But just for the record, I just want to touch on your 2 primary concerns that you've raised in the previous hearings, which were 1, driveway safety, 2, pedestrian safety. First, on the driveway safety, as Tom mentioned, we have revised the driveway to a right out only, made it very restrictive, more restrictive than it was. So it's be very difficult with that arced configuration of the right out for a vehicle to make an illegal left coming out of there. That exit hasn't been moved as far north as it would have been with where the fire egress was that you were just talking about, but it is 30 feet north of where it was. So that does give us some additional sight line. We remeasured the sight line from that new exit location. It's now 525 feet looking to the south. It was closer to 500, so we have gained some more sight line there. The DOT requirement for the measured northbound speeds on Route 10 was 478 feet, so we're about 50 feet over that now. So although the sight line was okay before, it is improved slightly better now with that modification. As far as pedestrian safety, again, I just want to reiterate a couple of the changes we've made. Listening to your concerns, we now have the bus pull-off lane, and a sidewalk coming down the driveway. So school children will be able to get on and off the bus. The bus will be completely out of the northbound traffic. They'll have a standing area for pedestrians looking to walk up and down Route 10. As Andrea had mentioned, we will be installing the new sidewalk from the West Johnson intersection all the way south through the site driveway and down to Fieldstone Court. So that's over a quarter of a mile, almost a third of a mile of new sidewalk there. At the north end at West Johnson, there is a new crosswalk with pedestrian ramps and pedestrian push buttons that the state of Connecticut has installed when they recently upgraded that traffic signal. So we'll be tying into that. And on the southerly end, we will be installing a new crosswalk with pedestrian ramps and pedestrian signal equipment. So pedestrians coming down the east side of Route 10 would be able to safely cross to get over towards the Dunkin' Donuts development. Again, with these improvements, we feel both vehicular and pedestrian traffic will be safely accommodated along the Route 10 road network. And as had been mentioned before, we will have to go to the DOT for an encroachment permit. So they would be reviewing the driveway location, the driveway access, the signal improvements, also the provision of the new sidewalk. To answer your question from before, could they deny the sidewalk? They could, but I would say that is highly unlikely. The state just issued a new complete streets directive, and they are looking to get sidewalks, crosswalks, pedestrian ramps anywhere they can. So I think they'll be all in favor of that. With that, I can take any questions you have. If not, I will turn things back to one question.
So you're saying someone could walk from here down to Dunkin' Donuts, hit a signal, and cross the street, go over to Dunkin' Donuts safely, and then would there be a signal on the other side, or that's not?
Correct.
Oh, there's
So-
already one there. Okay, he's telling me there's already one.
Not a crosswalk, but there is a
Signal,
Right.
okay.
So the sidewalk will tie in on the northeast corner of that Fieldstone Court intersection there. We would then build a pedestrian ramp, a new crosswalk, pedestrian ramp on the Dunkin' Donuts side as well. And then both sides would have a pedestrian push button and a pedestrian signal head. So they could push it and get the side street phase to be able to cross.
With the signal there that's there now, is there any data about how it's used, how often it's used from people walking over from local businesses?
There's no pedestrian facilities at that signal now, so.
But there is a signal there. Do you know if it's used by pedestrians?
There were no pedestrians counted at that intersection, but in the existing condition. Okay, thank you.
I have a question for Mike. The crosswalk, is that part of the sidewalk? So if DOT says we'll put the sidewalk in, but not the crosswalk across 10, that still defeats this?
Oh.
I mean, because That's all tied together.
I would say it's a whole package.
It's a, well, Commissioner, I didn't want to interrupt because you directed the question to Mr. Glidden, but it's the whole package. And again, it's part of the application, it's part of the site plan. DOT, and very unlikely DOT doesn't approve a crosswalk when they approve a sidewalk. But if they don't approve as proposed, we have to come back to the commission for a site plan modification. It's really what it comes down to. Thank you. Should I conclude, or I see Mr. Glidden is. Mr. Chairman, I'll actually do that, and I see Mr. Glidden's trying to make comments.
Mr. Chairman, just while we have the applicant still at the podium, just based on some of the testimony we just heard, I just have 2 additional conditions to make sure on the record that they would agree. One is that final plan shall incorporate off-site improvements, installation sidewalks along the eastern side of Route 10. Sidewalks will extend to the intersection of Route 10 and Fieldstone with a pedestrian crossing at the south of the subject site. Sidewalks to the north will be installed from the subject site to the intersection of Route 10 and East Johnson Avenue. And second is for issuance of a building permit, applicants provide copy of CT DOT encroachment permit to the planning department staff.
That sounds right to me, Mr. Chairman. I'm just hearing it off the cuff. I'll also add to that, for the commission's benefit, the discussion we just had about light trespass. I took a look at the regulation, and I think the way the condition of approval can be worded is that the regulation shall be clarified to prohibit light trespass beyond the property lines. And then I can work with Mr. Glidden directly on the language. It will probably be something very simple, like there shall be no trespass, light trespass beyond the property line, but that gives us a little wiggle room to have Mr. Glidden weigh in.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I will hand it over to the public through you, Mr. Chairman, and then I'll conclude
Actually,
after.
Mr. Chairman, just to follow up on that comment, I think Attorney D'Onofrio has just the solution is delete light falling outside AHD shall be of low intensity. Just eliminate all those words and just say property so that no light trespass, period. That's in section 44C 4.6, lighting.
So, through you, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Glidden.
Yes.
So all exterior lights from that sentence on, delete that and just prohibit light trespass beyond the property line?
Yep.
That's acceptable to the applicant.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody from the commission before we call to the public? Okay, anybody from the public wish to speak? Come to the podium, state your name and your address.
Good evening. I'm Donna Boudelaire, 138 Sloper Lane.
I'm Brent Boudelaire, 138 Sloper Lane.
During this hearing process, I've expressed my sincere desire with support along with other families to demonstrate that the need for my son, Brent, and other developmentally disabled adults to have an independent living community built in our town. We visited several of the communities that Metro has constructed, and I'm confident that a similar community would be an asset to Cheshire. Also, please remember Brent and his dream to be even more independent. Brent and I and the other parents that are here want to thank you all very much for your time and consideration concerning this worthwhile project. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Valerie Strange, 75 Nicole Court. I am making comment, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to do this. I'm a longtime resident of Cheshire. I'm a professor in the occupational therapy program at Quinnipiac University. I'm an active board member for Best Buddies, a true advocate for inclusion. Having dedicated my time to providing services and promoting community inclusion through my work as an OT in a variety of school and community settings, Cheshire included, I understand firsthand how the right options and resources promote independence. Here are just a few reasons why I support this proposal. Promoting inclusivity through community integration beyond caregivers breaks down stigma and stereotypes, promotes a sense of belonging, truly mainstreaming diverse groups that this proposal supports and ultimately showcases Cheshire as a welcoming and diverse environment that values and supports all of its residents, providing a practical solution to housing issues facing adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities throughout the country. Changing perceptions, placing people with IDD in supportive, independent living communities such as Cheshire challenges stereotypes and stigmas associated with disability. It promotes the important fact that people with IDD are valuable contributors to society who deserve equal opportunities to grow their communities. Enhancing quality of life for these adults who often have limited choice, limited privacy, and who are often socially isolated by providing access to quality services through the agencies that are offering this opportunity, while also prioritizing safety and community well-being. By actively engaging these adults in community life, we strengthen the social fabric of Cheshire. This initiative promotes increased connectedness, shared experiences, and social support among all members of Highland Village and our surrounding town. A final point, supporting people with IDD in our community can serve as a form of advocacy, raising awareness about the rights and capabilities of people with disabilities in all segments of society. Cheshire can become a model for inclusive living, setting an example for other communities to follow. Our success will inspire positive change and challenge stereotypes surrounding IDD. Thank you.
Anyone else in the public? No.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm going to end where I began for my closing comments, which is just touching base quickly on Connecticut General Statutes 830G. I won't belabor this point or any of the others in my conclusion because the commission at this point has heard me ad nauseum on this, but the commission remembers that it cannot deny the application unless there's a substantial public health or safety concern which can't be addressed by reasonable changes to the plan and which outweighs Cheshire's need for affordable housing. Getting right to the point, there simply is no health or safety concern on which to base a denial here for this proposed community. In addition to the testimony that the commission has heard from the applicant's expert team, confirming that there are no health or safety concerns, we've made a number of revisions to the application in response to the commission's questions and concerns and have accepted and again revised the plans in response to all of the town comments we received, including again significantly the installation of the almost third of a mile of public sidewalk along the site and the various site plan revisions, which again the fire marshal and fire chief have weighed in on and signed off on. So on that point, generally speaking, no health or safety concerns here. On traffic specifically, just drilling down a bit, you have our traffic engineer, Mr. Vertucci, confirming that there's no traffic safety concerns. You have town staff signing off on that, and you have the commission's peer reviewer, Mr. Adams, all agreeing that there's no traffic safety issues. The final site plan, again, incorporates all of those revisions, which enhance the safety of the site as originally proposed. Regarding affordable housing need, the commission has heard a lot about that throughout this public hearing, but I'll remind the commission again that the town's affordable housing plan confirms that the town needs more affordable housing. The Cheshire POCD also sets forth the same goal, noting that the town should increase opportunities for affordable housing, promote a variety of housing types, and enhance housing mobility and choice income across income levels. I don't even need to touch base on the need and the benefit of the supportive housing component here. Members of the public have come out in quite in force of that, and the commission, I'm sure, has heard them loud and clear. The need is great for this type of community, and Metro is doing what it always does, helping to fulfill the need with a beautifully constructed and thoughtfully designed community in partnership with the community that they will ultimately be in. Metro's partnership with the Arc of Southington to include that supportive housing we discussed is also important here, in that it fulfills that other need in town. Given that, and given what Mr. Tripp detailed earlier, we respectfully request that the commission approve this three-part application and suggest that it find, again, this is an appropriate location for multifamily development, and that it's consistent with the plan of conservation and development and its affordable housing plan. I will end there and just thank the commission for its time and its thoughtfulness and its attention to detail. We are proud of the plan that we have ended up with and think it is better than what we started at. I'll stop there, see if there are any other questions before I formally sit down.
Okay, Mr. Bowman.
I would like to thank you profusely for putting those sidewalks in. I think they're a very important component of this subdivision. I think it enhances the safety of your tenants. I'm glad that you've done it. It does show that you are trying to work with the commission and staff in the town of Cheshire. And after this long drawn-out presentation and many meetings that we've had, you've certainly opened up this commissioner's eyes to a need that I really didn't understand or realize that was needed in Cheshire. And I certainly will be voting on this, and thank you.
My presentations are never long and drawn out, Mr. Bowman. I'm kidding. Thank you loud and clear. And I will say, and I'm not saying this because they're in the room, but that's Metro for you. That's Metro. They truly care about partnering with the community.
Thank you. Any other questions prior to closing the public hearing? I don't see a reason not to close the public hearing. Okay.
Thank you.
This public hearing is closed. Nothing else on the agenda for the public hearing, so I need a motion to adjourn. Mr. Carderas, Mr. Selmont, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Okay, I'm going to reopen the regular meeting of the Cheshire Planning and Zoning Commission for Monday, January 8th, 2023. We need a motion to approve the minutes for the previous meeting.
So moved as presented.
Mr. Bowman, Mr. Carderas, any discussion, any changes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Mr. Affey, you can come up for a bit. And is Mr. Hilsinger still here? He left? Okay. Communications?
Okay, you have two communications, remember, that were holdover from the last two meetings concerning acceptance of Michael Place and release of a maintenance bond for Balsam Place.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to recuse myself for this.
Okay, so noted.
Both are ready to go this evening. So I have a motion for the acceptance of Michael Place as a town road, or recommend the acceptance. A motion that the Cheshire Planning and Zoning Commission recommends to the town council accept in its entirety as a town road, as shown on the map entitled recorded with the Cheshire Land Records Subdivision Plan, Monarchs Subdivision Phase 2, 791 Coleman Road, Cheshire, Connecticut, scale 1 inch equals 50 feet, date February 7th, 2022, revised May 31st, 2022, prepared by R.L. Thompson LLC, which is on file with the Cheshire Town Clerk's Office as map number 4826. Acceptance by the town council should be conditional upon the recording of a warranty deed for the town right-of-way and related legal documents as approved in form and contact by the town attorney. At the time of acceptance, the existing performance bond may be released and a maintenance bond for $38,492 be posted per section 10.14 of the subdivision regulations. Motion to approve the release of the maintenance bond in the amount of $53,826.11 submitted December 28th, 2022. The bond is for Clearview McKinley Estates, Balsam Place. So you have this is just another siting council in construction of a tower at 1041 South Main Street. It's a communication, it's an application that's been filed with the Connecticut Siting Council. I don't know if there's any commission wants to make any comments about this one. It's pretty. No, this one is if I pull up the file here. It's behind Big Y in the back. There's some underground work that's associated with it.
But it's a building or a tower, what is it?
There is an attachment here for you. It should be plans. I'm sorry, I'm going through the filings. There's a monopole. It's about within a fenced area, 20 by 86. They're proposing a generator and a concrete pad for structure, a roof, basically where they put their controls for the co-locators. And then they'll also tie in the service for this facility. That's where you're seeing the underground work out to King Road. But it's a jurisdiction of the Connecticut Siting Council.
We have nothing to do with it for look and feel or danger or
That's what they
lighting
do.
people up.
That's what they do.
It's a courtesy notification.
It's a courtesy notification under the Siting Council standard. They're supposed to, under docket 34, they would inform the agency they otherwise would seek approval from. So that's what this is. You could make some comments if you want, but you're advisory. It's one of those weird situations. Although it's a land use activity, you're advising them. They actually are the Planning and Zoning Commission for telecommunication purposes. It's behind it.
Right, who owns this chunk?
Well, it's,
That property owner, part of Big Y.
Yeah.
King Road is a residential neighborhood.
yes, that abuts it.
Right.
That property all goes back to Kings Road.
Yeah.
So who takes care of the safety of that to make sure we're not over dumping radiation onto people that live there
That's part of the safety review is the FCC requirements, which is part of the Siting Council's jurisdiction. That they handle that. We don't get involved with that.
Is there any notification process for the people on King Road?
Yeah, through the Siting
There has
Council.
been, they've been notified?
That they handle that. That's a Siting Council application process. I think this is, believe this would be, go through a hearing with the council. The neighbors would then also have the ability to intervene on it if they're at an issue. Or the town could, but I mean, like I told you, you're advisory in that sense.
But if all the neighbors have a problem with it, do they have any way to get back to us or the town to say, hey, what's going on? We don't want this.
Yeah, the way you do it is at the Siting Council. Their standing would be at the Siting Council. They retain services of a lawyer, professionals, and would intervene in the process at the Siting Council. It's not a Town of Cheshire process whatsoever. And that's because the General Assembly took those powers away from communities and gave it to that state agency
So that's the only recourse is to go up against.
to go to New
Wall.
Britain.
Bowman again?
Have they run the balloon yet?
Not that I'm aware of. I could reach out to them and see when the date that will occur, if the commission is interested.
And they have to notify the town or anybody or put it in the paper or
Well,
make
they
a,
notify us that like I said, on our docket 34, we get notified, so we've been notified. Then they do the siting council has a notification process and advertisement process for their hearings. They handle that separate.
is the whole town notified somehow in paper or to say the balloon's going up, this is what's going to be there or possible if you have
We-
any issues?
We could pass that through the town manager's office once we know the date, when and if that's going to be
I
going.
would like to see that done.
Okay.
Please.
Yes, you have a schedule for both the Plan of Conservation Development subcommittee meetings for the next calendar year. We forgot to do that. We also have a Aquifer Protection Agency meeting after this, so we can approve those dates for that. It's just a quick business meeting. But for POCD, keep an eye on those dates. Starting February, we are going to start meeting. The consultant will be coming in February. We're looking at the second meeting in February as a potential for this commission to be downstairs in 207, and we'll have a kickoff meeting with the consultant as part of the regular meeting. No, we're going to do that. We may do that at your regular meeting. Your second regular meeting, we'll have a workshop downstairs. So. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so, originally I was not planning on voting on this. Got a lot of information, but I think that a lot of questions.
Mike, turn your mic on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll repeat that for those that didn't hear me. I wasn't planning on calling for a vote on this tonight. We've had a lot of information come to us. I think we got a lot of questions answered. So how do you feel as a commission voting on this tonight?
I'm for it.
Looks like it's unanimous to vote on this. Michael, do you have anything outstanding?
So you have, one was that we had change to the motion for the text amendment, adding that language that we mentioned in the public hearing. The two additional conditions that the applicant agreed to, along with the changes that we've already worked out for the motions. You good with that? Okay. We're ready to go on our side.
Okay.
Take them one at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna take them one at a time. So have a motion for the first.
Motion to approve petition for a zone text amendment on behalf of Metro Realty Corporation, applicant Timothy Hollister, Esquire, agent. Applicants requesting the addition of Section 44C Assisted Housing District pursuant to CGS Section 830G to the Cheshire zoning regulations. The commission finds that the application is consistent with the 2016 Plan of Conservation Development. The effective date for the change is January 12th, 2024. The approval is subject to the following change to Section 44C 4.6. Delete the following terms. Light falling outside the AHD shall be low intensity, and replace those terms with no light trespass.
Move staff wording.
Mr. Bowman, Mr. Carderas. Any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado.
You guys probably know that I won't be voting for this or any of these. but there's a little something I'd like to read on how I feel and how this is going to affect Cheshire. First, I'd like to say I cannot believe that you would pick such an unsafe area like this to put in a housing development that you presented, mainly is designed for special need adults. I feel you're putting these individuals, anyone else who lives there, and the drivers in this area at risk that have to go through there. Second, I feel no matter how you spin your words or the words of our POCD's intent, that you're using this special needs population to gain an emotional response from us to try to make us vote for this dangerous project location. You're using this as a tool to scavenge Cheshire's industrial area and its taxes to impose a huge stress on this town that it should not have to burden. I find it a shame that you as the ARC did not go through Cheshire's Affordable Housing Committee, as I believe you could have had a much safer and welcome result. I feel that my fellow commissioners feel the same, I hope they do, and follow me on a no vote for this application on basis of safety and an unnecessary burden on Cheshire. As the ARC is doing great work and this type of living community is needed here for these individuals, this is not the way to go about joining Cheshire. I hope this application does not move forward, but that you, the ARC, do come back to Cheshire through the Affordable Housing Commission and through Cheshire's regs for affordable projects. As this is a great cause, needed and welcomed by all, but done the correct way. I do appreciate that you tried to work with us to make this a safer area, which I think you have, but you could not do to this area. And the look and feel of the property was nice, just not safe enough. And we have to look out for you and for all of Cheshire, making this an easy decision for me to vote no. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to, excuse me, I will be voting for this. And I spent a good part of my adult life teaching special education. And part of my job was as a senior transition counselor at Berlin High School, trying to get jobs for students between the ages of 18 and 21 and helping parents to understand what the agencies that they'd be dealing with as their children aged out of the system. And I used to bang my head against the wall all the time trying to work with the public to get people to understand this population. And while I do agree with some of what Mr. Brocato is saying, that I wish this had been in a different place, I wish it was safer. In an ideal world, there'd be a sidewalk all the way out to Stonebridge so that the residents could walk out there because it's a potential place to work. I'm happy you're building the sidewalk to Dunkin' Donuts because it's a place to go. And I understand that having a place to go is important. I understand this population quite well and the position that you're in. I just wish it wasn't here, but it's not a perfect world. I can't change where you're putting it, and I will be voting for this, even though I do feel there are some safety concerns. I am still going to vote for this. Thank you.
So I'm sure a lot of people would agree. I don't approve of housing in industrial areas. That defies the entire concept of planning and zoning. The state statute literally goes against all logic there. It's a great project with the supportive housing on the wrong property. It's dangerous. If you've ever had to receive or give a call that your loved one just got hit by a car or worse is dead, you don't care about that apartment anymore. It doesn't matter. And also that, when you look at social media, when something happens, somebody gets hit by a car, there's untimely death of any type, especially on a public road, the town gets the blame. The landlord, the developer, the applicant, the vehicle, they don't get blamed. Everybody sends hopes and prayers. Everybody says, why couldn't the town do this? Or why isn't there a crosswalk there? Why isn't there this? And the town gets the blame. And I'm part of the town. I walked in tonight's meeting as a no vote. However, the applicant has mitigated as much of the risk as possible. And frankly, the sidewalk on the south with the crosswalk is pretty much what made the difference. Without that, I wouldn't have approved this application. I still worry about this property. The bus pull off, people are going to blow by it even with the pull off. That road, the way it is and everything else, I worry about the kids. I worry about pedestrians still. You know, you got a crosswalk in front of Dunkin' Donuts. What if they want to go to the restaurant? What if they want to go up to Stonebridge? There's still risks there. All that said, I'm going to vote yes in favor of it. And I just hope and pray myself that it doesn't become an issue that I regret. You know, thank you to the applicant for doing as much as you did on it. It was imperative to my yes vote. And, you know, I respect my commissioners either way, yes or no. I still a little torn, quite frankly, but I will be voting yes on it.
40 years ago, I began my career working with the class action people from the Pennhurst Institution, where the state closed all the institutions and put people in the community immediately. People who have lived their entire lives in community in institution were put in the community. This is not the situation here. These are people who've lived in the community, who've grown up in the community, who belong in the community. But for the fact that it's an industrial area, I would have voted for this, even without the 8G designation. The industrial part of it, I think it's mitigated by that it is over a aquifer, so it limits the amount of what industry could be there. That's been mitigated. There are some houses in that area, and those people have been using it without any problem, as far as I'm aware of. I don't see the traffic problems as being dire as some of my fellow members do. And that it's being set back, I will vote for it enthusiastically. In fact, I feel compelled under the law that I have no choice to vote for it. But even if I didn't have to vote for it, I would be likely voting for it because it's needed, and I don't see the safety issues as insurmountable or that difficult.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to hold my comments for the actual site plan because I have some comments I'd like to make there. But as far as the zone text amendment, I don't believe in what the state does. And regardless of what you say, the state is forcing towns to put developments, whether they are great for the community or not, in areas that they're not allowed. This commission months ago voted not to allow any residential and industrial. That's to protect our industrial land. This small portion of 830G is used to force the town of Cheshire to allow this development. I'm not saying that I'm not going to vote for it, but as far as the zone text amendment, and I'll say the next one for the zone change, I'm opposed to those because that is, for me, state overreach, pushing towns to allow development that's against their zoning regulations. But again, I'm going to reserve my comments for the actual development until we go into the number 3 on the agenda. Any other comments? Okay, we'll put this up for a vote. All in for the petition for a zone text change. All in favor?
Aye.
Actually, can you raise your hands? I want to make sure I get this right. Okay. Opposed?
Aye.
Carries 5-2. 5-2-0. Do you have a call for or a
Motion to
motion?
approve petition for zone change on behalf of Metro Realty Management Corporation, applicant Timothy Hollister, agent. Applicants requesting a change from I2 zoning district to assisted housing district pursuant to CGS 830G for the property located Highland Avenue, Assessors Map 11, Lot 46. The commission finds that the proposed zone change is consistent with the goals and objectives of the 2016 Plan of Conservation Development. The effective date for the change is January 12th, 2024.
Move staff wording.
Second.
Mr. Kaderis? All in favor?
Aye.
Raise your hands again. Opposed? Motion carries 5-2.
Motion to approve application for site plan approval on behalf of Metro Realty Management Corporation, applicant Timothy Hollister Esquire, agent, applicants requesting a site plan approval pursuant to CGS Section 830G for a multifamily community for the property located on Highland Avenue, Assessors Map 11, Lot 46. The commission finds, based on the documents provided, the applicant has demonstrated compliance with the Cheshire zoning regulations. The approval is based on plans titled Proposed Multifamily Residential Development, the Metro Realty Management Corporation, prepared by SLR with a revision date December 1st, 2023. The approval is subject to the following conditions. One, approvals for 71 assisted housing development as defined by CGS 830G. Two, as per the affordability plan and applicant's presentation during the public hearing, approximately 20% of the total residential units, 15 units, will be market rate, while the remaining 56 shall be deed restricted affordable. Three, 18 of the 71 units will be assisted housing units. Four, in accordance with the approved affordable housing plan, the applicant will provide copies of income verifications reported to Cheshire Planning Department on an annual basis to certify compliance with this approval. Five, while the supportive housing units within the community will be operated by the Arc of Southington, Metro Realty Management Corporation will own and manage the community as a whole. If the ownership is to change, the property owner will provide the planning department updated contact information for the operator. Six, prior to filing a building permit, the applicant is to provide an updated affordable housing plan which depicts the breakdown of income restrictions as per State Department of Housing funding ratios of 80% deed restricted, 20% market rate, made in accordance with the approval. Seven, prior to the start of site work and issuance of a building permit, the applicant is to schedule a pre-construction meeting with town staff. Eight, the northern right turn only lane will be widened to 15 feet. The applicant shall call for a field test with the fire department apparatus on compacted subbase for final approval prior to paving. Nine, the applicant has agreed to utilize a power actuated automated gate with an automatic override system to be approved by the fire chief or his designee on the emergency access around the proposed chain. 10, the Planning and Zoning Commission authorized staff to approve minor modifications to site plans such as minor changes to landscaping, grading, or utility plan. Said changes are to be made in writing to the town planner and approved prior to implementation in the field. 11, the final plan shall incorporate off-site improvements, installation of sidewalks along the eastern side of Route 10. Sidewalks will be extended to sidewalks will be extended at the intersection of Route 10 and Fieldstone with a pedestrian crossing to the south of the subject site. Sidewalks to the north will be installed from the subject site to the intersection of Route 10 and East Johnson Avenue. And 12, for issuance of a building permit, applicants to provide a copy of the CTDOT encroachment permit to the planning department staff.
Move staff wording.
Second.
Mr. Bowman, Ms. Corderis. Mr. Mercado, discussion.
So I'd like to say the site plan, or like, so the design was really nice. I like the look of it. The layout was nice, except for the exit. I still wish you would look at getting back with the fire department to move that leaving exit more north, back to that second design. Find a way you can work with them that they can get in and out, but people can only leave going north. You guys tried really hard, or you did really hard and made it as safe as possible. I feel it's still not safe enough because of the location, not because of what you guys designed. And then where the gate is going to go, if that moves forward with the gate over there. And like, I think you should also get with the police to make sure that that gate is a position where some people can't come and park there and use it as a quick exit or entrance, so that if the fire department has to go in there, there's no vehicles that are there when they're not supposed to be. But other than that, you did do a great job at trying to mitigate the best. I do like that you put in the sidewalk. I just feel that location was never going to be safe no matter what you did. So thank you.
Turn my mic so you can hear me this time. So, I'm not going to go through 830G, what my feelings are about the state. Already said that. I just wanted to go on record. If something does happen up there, this is on the state. This is on the General Assembly for forcing towns to put development where it probably shouldn't be. And it's on the developer for coming here before us and asking us to do something that's not allowed in our regulations because there's a loophole in 830G that would allow that. With that said, I don't know that I can vote against this. There is a need. I got to say, Brent, when I first heard his story about going to Dunkin' Donuts, I was like, absolutely not. You can't have these people walking up Route 10 and getting hit by a car. Like Mr. Selmont, when you came in, you proposed the sidewalks going both ways, signalized crossings and everything, trying to make that safer. I then pictured Brent walking in the sidewalk with his Dunkin' Donuts that he likes. Sorry, Brent, I'm bringing you up, but I was concerned for you. So like I said, Mr. Selmont said, I think that goes a long way. I think that if I owned a business on Fieldstone Court, I'd probably be jumping up and down right now and being very happy because their employees are also going to be able to go across from these businesses over to Dunkin' Donuts with a signalized light and a crosswalk, which makes it safer for them because I was up there last week and I did see somebody running across the street, dodging the traffic. So that does make it safer there. The bus lane, again, people are going to pay attention or not going to pay attention to the stop signs on the buses, but I think that does make it a little safer for the kids that would get on there. Also, the agreement with the bus company that the bus is only going to go north. It's not going to be on the other side of the street for the afternoon or the morning. I think that makes it safer for the kids because they're not going to be crossing the street. Again, brought up about the crosswalks and the lights. And the last thing I want to say is we've come a long way with this application. This is not the same application that came across our desks. It's not the same information that came across our desks. Although I disagree with the state forcing us to do this, and regardless of what anybody says, it's the state forcing us to do something that we don't allow. The applicants, I think, have bent over backwards to try and improve the public safety. They've listened to us on the turn lanes, the sidewalks, the general navigation within the development. The buildings look nice. The parking is there. They're working with ARC to bring something to Cheshire that is needed. So I apologize if anybody thought through this process that, I'll speak for myself that I was against affordable housing or the assisted housing. I just didn't think it was in the right place. And for those reasons, and probably a whole bunch more that I'm not going to go on about, I will vote in favor of this tonight. Okay, let's take a vote with hands too. All in favor? Opposed? Abstaining. So this carries. What's that? 6-1.
Thank you very much. Huh? Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, maybe we could wait till the room clears, just so you can hear me.
I have a question can I ask a question? Is there a reporter in here? Are you a reporter? So we don't have a reporter anymore.
No, we have nothing.
I guess I just want that in the notes or somehow noted. We have no more reporters here.
No?
I could talk more about that.
Yeah. And
Freaking hurt. They're buying everything.
I know.
The guy that covers Trumbull lives in Maine. Call me.
Okay, so if we could, we do have other business to perform tonight. So if we could take conversations out in the hall, it'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
Okay. Of course, we have the zoning report.
So you got an update from Mike. We're going to try to do this on a quarterly basis, like we promised. We're just a little busy. That's why we're a little behind.
Understandable.
As you can see, first off, we'll hit the zoning compliance portion of it. That's the lower portion. So we've had about 24 zoning verifications, meaning that's usually real estate transaction. They want us to do review of the files, et cetera. We've processed over 840 building permits. Hence why we had a lot of things going through the office right now. I mean, the building department. Huh? Is that a what?
How many else, what's left? I mean, is that all of that's out there? What, is that just a dent
No,
in
that's
how
just
many we gotta
that's
do?
just what came through the what do you call it, department in a period of time, not including what's already been approved that's under various stages of work. You know, for example, that doesn't include the building permits for East Mitchell. That development received building permits almost 6 months ago. They're just slowly going through it. So, I mean, we keep adding, it's just a lot of things going on. And that's just not just like new residential, commercial. It could be anything to a residential addition, modification, changes, alterations, et cetera. But still, we have to review all those. As for the violation log, so you see the first one, this is one that will be going to the town attorney on Wallingford Road. This is a gentleman that has the firewood operation. He also has this nice trailer camp out in the backwoods. 2 of them are burned down at this point. Yeah. So he actually has, we have a temporary order on that for dumping on the property, which we have been back there, and he decided to not only commence the firewood operation to a new level, but also is importing more materials. So hence why we'll be taking legal action against Mr. Coleman. Highland and Fieldstone, that is, we've been meeting with Nozzle about that. They're working on an application potentially for this commission.
What is that?
I can't say, I could tell you he's working on something. In what's going on right now probably will not be going on long-term.
So in the meantime, we have to sit back and look at that
Well,
eyesore while he's.
Yeah, can he clean it up until he comes back?
What we can do is just urge him to speed up the process. And basically say, listen, you know, if you can't file your apps with the commission with whatever you're going to do, then you got to get rid of everything. Otherwise, we go to court.
How long are we gonna let him drag this out? What is that time frame?
He's been doing it for a long time.
Months? Is it a year? Is it?
We'll give him 30 days.
Okay.
And then we'll kick it to the attorney at this point.
So you'll give us an update on each and every one of these every month?
So that's the question. Do you want a monthly or quarterly? I think we originally said quarterly.
It's a quarterly.
So
Yeah.
the next quarter will come back with like kind of where we are with the open stuff. There's some stuff that is on our list that's closed at this point that has, you know, we've resolved or for whatever reason.
Can we just put a closed section so we know, and it's instead of trying to go back and
No,
forth?
that's fine. If you, how, we'll use this as our starting point, and then moving forward, you want to know what also like some of the things that may have gone through Mike's desk that are closed?
Yeah, anything that's closed, not like in perpetuity, but from the last time, that is, and that's resolved. We see it once and then it comes off.
We
of
can
us.
do that. We can
Thank
do that. The next 3 are the next, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. These are all courtesy of the weather pattern is drainage complaints. Everything from sump pumps that they're directed onto their neighbor's property to a few new homes that are under construction, which we have erosion sediment control issues, which the developers have been working with us on. We've had a notice of violation on Tucker Road regarding drainage complaints. 396 Mountain Road, that is an active one as of this morning. 811 Ward Lane, we received complaints through the town manager's office regarding drainage onto a neighbor's property. The builder is working with our department. It's not at final grade yet. And it will be maintaining that. 1701 Highland Avenue. So that's, that we've received complaints from the down gradient neighbor that there was a discharge, that their basins were not working properly. However, in talking with Byron, the basins have been cleaned and are being maintained. So it's not, this is between, yeah, you know what you know what it was? It was from one of those thunderstorms in the summer that we got like 4 inches of rain in a short time period. So the system's not designed to take that much water into it. Like tomorrow night into Wednesday is going to be one of those other storm events where we expect that Wednesday, provided we're here, we'll be chasing a lot of drainage complaints. But in some of these were a result, like I said, of the weather pattern. Some of them are actions of the property owners. Others are directly from the weather pattern. That was a great example. Those basins, you put 4 inches of rain in a quick amount of time. Yeah, they're going to get overwhelmed and go out.
Where do those basins empty into? Isn't that sewer right there?
It goes off-site. I believe it's tied in. He's got an underground drainage system and then meters its way off-site.
Was this groundwater that was just appearing right next to the property or something?
It was basically what happened was the parking lot was draining.
Yeah,
And as you got the big thunderstorm, it just went, it bypassed the basin, went down to the down gradient neighbor's property.
Does it happen often? Is this the first complaint?
Yeah.
And do we keep track of how many of these complaints are to see if it's, repetitive and?
So some of these that'll live on the list, like if they're not resolved, yes, we will keep track of them. The repeat offenders, some of them are, you mean like Mr. Coleman on Wallingford Road. We have litigation with him. Jarman on South Brooksvale, although we took that property through a tax foreclosure recently. He's another one. South Meriden Road.
So just recently on, was it Wallingford Road right here? This road, is it Wallingford? Yeah, Wallingford. I saw it where it was coming out of someone's property. It's going down the side of the road and then it's crossing in a 10-foot swash across the road where I actually saw it and was able to hydroplane over it nice and straight. 2 weeks ago when we had that, I don't know what water that was, but it froze. How do we, does the department, the DOT or Cheshire Department, do they see that and then put a complaint in and say, why is that water running across the
Public
road? Where's it
Works,
coming from?
usually in those instances, Public Works, those complaints will start with Public Works. And then they'll kind of weed it out. Is it a system issue, meaning their system is failing or it's overwhelmed, or is it a result of private property? If it's a result of private property, is it something like it's existing conditions, it's that 4 inches of rain that came real quick that no one could predict, or is it, neighbor decided to change the grade of his yard and now he's a concentrated flow going into the road. Yeah, now it's becoming an icing problem. You've caused a problem. You need to direct it, or is it an illicit the list goes on. But we kind of all work, the departments work together on
Okay, so you do
determining
hear
this.
from Public Works on
Yeah,
that or
vice
Police
versa.
Department?
Vice versa. I mean, like we'll go out, we'll get a complaint and then see it and say, that's a Public Works matter. It's illicit discharge. That's not our gig.
Thanks.
Mike, is there a way that you can get us what year storm this was? These storms, they just seem to be, the 1 in 50, the 1 in 100 are just coming every 20 minutes. And
Yeah.
so, no, but these drainage systems seriously are designed for 20-year storms.
Right.
And if we know that there is, the drainage system is failing because it's a 30-year storm, that's an act of nature or an act of God or whatever you want to call it. But I think as commissioners, we should know if you could help us with what year storm it was at what time.
So I could talk to Merrick Kement, the town engineer, and see if we can get kind of like, not like, what's the rate of, like, what is a 4-inch storm? Like, and the thing too is like,
But it's a 4-inch storm in
in
4 hours or a 4-inch storm in 24 hours. And
So, because that was one of the events, I'm trying to remember which one, we figured it was a 200-year event based on the intensity and the short period of time.
Right.
So that was one of those events where it was flooding everywhere. There was roads closed everywhere. That was a big event. And those intensities, those models, NOAA provides those data sets to us, but obviously we got to look back at what fell. So what I could do is maybe the last couple larger events, see if that Merrick, if we can kind of get that information, if you're interested, at least then you can start thinking about it as you see these applications.
So that we're informed. We know then
Yeah.
exactly, you know, what's happening. Because, you know, a 100-year storm is not one storm in 100 years. It's 1 in 100 chances. And it's 1 in 20 is 1 in 20 chances. It's not 1 in 20 years. It's called a 20-year storm or a 100-year storm, but it's not.
The other thing, just food for thought, like the weather pattern we are currently in, what we're about to experience Tuesday night into Wednesday. In the future, when you're reviewing development applications, and I'll mention comments about overflow and how those basins perform in the winter. This is one of the perfect examples with a snow cover and a quick melt. How does a basin handle all that? Because you got to remember, you have about 4 inches of snow, 6 inches at most in town right now. That's a ground cover, and we're looking at 2-3 inches of rain, 50 degrees. So it's going to be a quick rain event that's going to have a melt period, and you're going to have all this coming at once. Correct. But then that's, like I said, how are you designing your site to accommodate those conditions? I was used to experiencing those conditions in the southeastern part of the state when I first started my career. When I was down in Waterford, that was winter all the time. I mean, that's how the Connecticut Shore experienced winter. We're kind of becoming the Connecticut Shore in that sense. So we're subject to what's called a stormwater permit, MS4 permit from DEEP, which then gives us standards on design standards, et cetera. We kind of are in accordance with them. One of the things that the town engineer would be responsible of is in these cases where, let's just say based on the weather pattern we're having repeated events where there is a failure somewhere in the public system, then we'd look at it and say, okay, that's a capital project. We should upgrade the system in this area. Then more importantly, based on our experiences, how do we design it to actually handle what's occurring in these sites? I think, like I said, Wednesday is going to be an interesting day. It's going to give us a real show of like who's designed and where we may have some weaker spots.
We've caused some of that ourselves too.
Yeah.
The towns have where the old streets were in sheet flow, and they take an old street and they curb it on both sides. Now you're concentrating flow. Yeah, that's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. So we've created some of that ourselves by the modernization of our roads, and instead of leaving them sheets, we curb them and turn them into rivers. A prime example is Jarvis Street, the exit of Courier Woods. Public Works had to put a truck there during one of the storms because it was coming across Jarvis Street a foot deep.
So and the next one, 55 East Mitchell, that's another one. That's the East Mitchell construction site. And honestly, a lot of what occurred there has been as a result of these quick events. The developer has put everything in place to try to avoid discharges, but we have a discharge on a large storm event where, it's just overwhelmed. Doesn't matter how many protections you put out there, you just have so much of an area of the site draining to one low point. Because in that case, we beefed up, we put additional silt fence, we started following the manual, putting in extra rows of hay bales, and yet still there was a discharge, mainly because we had a short, intense storm. That is beyond what's design standards. In those cases, the best we just put what the the 2002 ENS manual calls for and the stormwater manual from DEP. You just try to put the best measures out of those two guidance documents and really just hope that you have an attentive site contractor that knows, hey, this is where the weak spot is.
It's called best management practices.
Last two, shed complaints. One shed too close to the line at 1145. I don't have an address there. That was moved. The other, 186 Peck Lane, the shed that was complained has been there for more than 3 years without a action in court. So under Connecticut General State Statutes 813A1, the shed is considered grandfathered in its location. It doesn't meet the setbacks, but it's, as you know, if it's there for 3 years, if we don't take someone to court, our hands are tied. It becomes legal nonconforming based on the law.
5 foot or, so it's over 140 square feet?
If I recall this, it's too close. It's too close, period, to the property line.
So there's a,
regulation.
For sheds?
Less than 10 by 10 or 12 by 12.
No, if it's under a certain square foot,
Yeah.
200. You have a
5 feet from the line.
Yeah.
If it's over 200, it has to go to the regular setback.
setbacks for the zoning district.
I just dealt with this myself personally, so.
He's a pro.
so I think there's,
No, he's got the pool that's going to be open.
three things that I think are missing off. What happened with that gravel that was on Black's Road on that property? Did that get removed? or
So
remediated?
they were removing it. Yes, they received a
Millings.
cease and desist, the millings, and they started removing it.
Okay.
So
The rock wall building smashing, whatever was going on that property from that on the ledge in the back. The people are complaining about the banging and the
Oh,
smashing.
so Mike went out there. They have a building permit and they're working on a patio. And he said, it doesn't look like they were exporting anything. We're monitoring that site at this point to make sure, but he's been there and we didn't have evidence of while he was there that they're operating a business out of that site. That's the one over off of, yeah.
Higgins or wherever,
Yeah,
somewhere there. And then the fence on Wolf Hill Road, something about,
So.
what happened with that?
No chickens. The shed on Wolf Hill Road, the neighbor appealed the the notice of violation to the zoning board of appeals. The neighbor, the property owner, and the ZBA reversed the decision of the zoning enforcement officer, so the fence stays in its location. Even though the zoning officer, the planner, and we also had Kevin Zakowitz from the police department there to testify that it is a site obstruction. The ZBA overruled the zoning officer. So that, huh? Yes, you were there for that was the second meeting.
So, Michael, two more things, and we're going to move on to the aquifer protection meeting. House next to Strollo's.
How's what?
Tarps on the roof. Tarps on the house next to Strollo's on the corner there.
Notice of blight, I believe, was issued on that. So we will go through the blight process with that.
And any update on the daycare center, or are we looking?
They put in the front that they showed on their plans, the modified plan, so they're,
For on Maple, right next to the house, the two falling down and that blight or danger.
we're handling it under the blight ordinance, so it's not on here, but, because since we could give you the blight list too. I mean, yeah, we can give you that, although it's not your regulations. I just don't want you to get in the blight business.
I didn't know.
It's not a fun business to be in.
Okay. Anything else? You get a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Okay. I'd like to open the Monday, January 8th, 2024 Aquifer Protection Meeting. I think our sole item on the agenda is the approval of the dates.
Election officers.
Election
You
of
got the minutes?
officers.
minute approval from the meeting in 2023.
Okay, it's been a while.
March, and so I'd like to move the approval of the minutes of the March of 2023 meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Affy, you can't vote on there because you weren't there. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries 6-0.
Move the, we have to
Yeah.
move the meeting now, dates?
Yes.
I'd like to move the meeting dates for the Aquifer Protection Zone.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, any discussion? No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye. Yeah.
Opposed? Abstaining? That carries. Mr. Daffy, you would vote on this. So are you in the affirmative on this? Okay, 7-0. Okay, so, election of officers. Do I have a motion?
Motion for what?
We have to approve the officers for Aquifer Protection.
I move the officers for the planning and zoning commission shall be the same as the citizens of the.
Did you get that? Okay, so Mr. Carderas, Mr. Selmont, any discussion? No, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries 7-0. Any other aquifer protection business?
You have nothing.
Okay, so move. Second? Mr. Selmont, all in favor?
Aye.
We are done.